I'm Noah Galloway, and have I got a story for you. According to People magazine, an Alabama engineering instructor, Brian Copes, is one of 5 Teachers of the Year. To quote People, these teachers have all gone above and beyond their job descriptions and achieved real results. But more than that, they've helped their students succeed in ways many thought were unattainable. In 2012, Brian's high school students garnered national attention for their work in developing prosthetic legs from used automobile parts. Brian took a group of students to the jungles of Honduras to personally change lives with the gift of walking. The students also built affordable basic utility vehicles that can be shipped as parts and easily reassembled in order to provide transportation in developing countries. These students taught local residents of Honduras how to build the basic utility vehicles. In 2014, Brian took another group of students to Honduras. The students had varying expectations of what they would experience in Honduras.
I really feel like this was going to be a really good trip because we've worked together for about 2 years now.
I thought it was the biggest final exam that I would ever expect, that I could never get in high school or even college for that matter, and I had to just absolutely apply everything that I had to learn in Mr. Cope's class. And I realized it was true. I actually had to use everything that I learned in Mr. Cope's class, every single thing, to the point of work ethic, I had to use every single thing I learned in that big final exam in Honduras.
My expectations were that it would be a lot more difficult for somebody with my challenges mobility-wise in a developing country to get around and get things accomplished. It was a lot easier than expected.
My expectations of going to Honduras was that we would get to go help a bunch of people and change a couple lives by giving people prosthetic legs.
My expectations were for it to be life-changing in a sense and to change my life with meeting new people there. And they moved me, and now I live differently than I did before.
Well, I just expected a really poor country that was going to be all dirt road and mud huts everywhere because of my dad's stories. But when I got there, I realized it was more than just that. It was a whole different culture, a whole new community.
The Basic Utility Vehicles, or BUVs, history goes back to Brian Cope's tenure at Chelsea Middle School, Chelsea, Alabama, 2006. This is where Mr. Copes challenges students to become modern-day Henry Fords. He gave them the task of manufacturing a down-to-earth but sturdy mode of transportation that could be assembled and repaired with simple hand tools. The vehicle would be targeted toward underdeveloped countries. The original BUV was entered in a college competition sponsored by the Institute for Affordable Transportation. At the competition, the middle school students came in first and second place, beating out some well-known colleges and universities. 8 years later, Brian moved to Calera High School in Calera, Alabama, where he continued the BUV program. The BUV, just like any new invention, through testing and modification, has now developed into a sturdy, easily maintained vehicle that can withstand the rugged terrain of Honduras, where at this time 3 BUVs are in use. One is being used as an ambulance. Another was outfitted with a water well drill and plow. The latest version is transporting students to and from Cephalou Manuel School, located at the base of the cloud forest. Transportation is difficult in the cloud forest. Thanks to these Alabama kids, medical services are more readily available, clean water can be obtained, and most importantly, the students saw firsthand how the simplest of mobility can make an education achievable, because with education, poverty can be conquered. There came a time for each of the students when they realized the impact they had on the lives of the people they encountered.
When the first day we got there, all the kids who I met 2 years ago came up to me and they were like, Christian, hey. And I was like, oh, it's good to see all of you guys. And I noticed how they changed my life. But I never really truly understood how much we changed their lives. What it made me realize was when you give somebody hope, that they will never forget what you did in their lives. And that's something that will stick with me for the rest of my life.
I guess the moment I really understood the impact we were having was when there was a number of schools nearby who brought in students they'd been teaching to dance. And at the clinic, they held a festival of sorts. They showed us some of the traditional dances as a thanks to us for what we were doing there. And I don't know, that kind of rammed home the idea that we were doing something that people appreciated.
I realized the impact we had on those people numerous times. The first of which, we had taken the BUV down to the school to show it off as it's used for a school bus. And that day we were supposed to take students down to the river in order to show off the hydroelectric power plant and explain how it worked. Well, we took the BUV, it ran great, did what it was supposed to. On our way back, we ended up running out of gas. And even though they all had to get out and push the BUV, they were still very happy and energetic the whole way back. And I realized that these people were extremely grateful for what we were doing, extremely compassionate and caring towards people that they didn't even know. In that country, we were foreigners, yet they treated us as if they had known us their whole lives.
I truly understood that what impact I was having on Honduras was when I finally fit someone for a prosthetic leg. It was funny because I helped build one of the first prosthetic legs, but I was also the last person to fit someone with a leg. And building it and actually fitting someone were actually very different things as well. And I learned seeing that person walk. I thought it was eye-opening. People were given the right to be able to move from the very day that they were born. At some point in your life, and you just lose that ability. And we, as sophomores, granted that right to them again. And they were actually able to walk like they were doing it. And they were happy too.
I truly understand the impact pretty much when we're leaving, because everyone was so sad and there were people crying and stuff.
My moment in Honduras when I truly understood the help we were doing and how we were helping the people was when there was one time at the clinic where we were trying to help the prosthetists fit a amputee, and there was no other hands available to help Randy. So I was able to help Randy fit an amputee and hold the man up as we were putting the leg on.
I think that the moment I understood this trip was so important was when me and Jacob went to go get these people some shoes. This mother came up to us and pointed to her little children and said zapatos. And so we ran up there and thought, okay, let's just get shoes for these people, because we didn't know that all of the people there needed any. But when we got back down, everybody there just swarmed around us and said, asking for shoes. And so we had to go up there and get the entire boxes of shoes, and we came down and they just swarmed us. And that's when we realized they're so poor. They needed people like us.
Brian Copes believes it is important for students to pursue the common good by helping those without hope. The prosthetic leg that came into existence by using salvaged automobile parts has now developed into a precision-machined, reproducible, high-quality prosthetics. Because of the inspiration of their teacher and the hard work of a group of enthusiastic, forward-thinking students, they were able to share their invention with the poorest parts of the world. Randy Robertson with Crosswalk Prosthetics mentored the students as they evaluated and fitted amputees from the cloud forest of Honduras. Thanks to these students and their teacher, the world is a better place. They have given people from a world away a chance to walk in a normal life. They return with a new outlook on the world, each with a unique perspective.
I feel like a realization of coming back was that more people need to go and help developing countries.
The expectations that I had when I came back to Calera, Alabama, I realized and I was completely thinking about everything that I had to do in Honduras. I learned so much, like it was engineering at its peak, and it was just great. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to learn more from that experience than I have. Me and all the rest of the team and Mr. Copes, and we worked on that project for 2 whole years, and it was struggling, but it was truly worth it. I went into Mr. Copes' classroom thinking, oh, I've got this. I've got engineering down. I know a pretty good basic amount of physics. I think I can handle this. But no. Physics and application are 2 completely different things.
The concept of a hydroelectric power plant came about during a previous trip to Honduras, where Jose Castelar, who is a leader and benefactor of the Cloud Forest area, shared with Brian a vision of using the river to generate electricity for the people of rural Honduras. The students worked on a design, and with the mentoring of Tim Foster with Alabama Municipal Electric Authority and the engineers of Alabama Power Company, a floating hydroelectric power plant became reality. It was assembled in Alabama, then disassembled, shipped to Honduras, where with assistance from local villagers, the students put it back in working condition. The students' hydroelectric power plant is a perfect example of having a vision, executing a plan, and having success. These young adults' lives will never be the same.
I guess the experience on Honduras taught me how to work with a team, especially one that was as close-knit as ours. We were friends before we were teammates.
My experience in Honduras changed me in a few ways, I've come to realize, and eventually I came to see outdoors as more of the world we live in instead of being inside all the time and relying on technology for entertainment, as well as I'm fortunate for what I have. It's sort of a humbling experience.
My experience in Honduras has helped me to realize we need to help people more, and we need to learn better work ethics and how to help people. While we were down there, everybody there was so helpful and knew how to work fast and efficient, and we were able to work with them and get everything done early.
This experience in Honduras has changed me by making me more responsible and truly liking everything that I do. It helps me be really thankful now, and I realize what I have, and everything's so valuable now to me.
This experience changed me in so many ways, in the sense that I feel that everything that's going to come ahead in my life that I'm going to have to just overcome, it's just going to be nothing. It's going to be simple. It's just going to flow like water. We had to do everything that we did in 2 years, in 10 days.
My experience in Honduras just made me feel so much more grateful for what I have here. The second I got home, I was so thankful. I looked around and said, wow, this is so different. The things that they had there were so poor, and then we come back and it's just a whole different world.
Brian has just one rule for his pre-engineering students. I want them to realize there is a world outside of themselves, he says, and their job is to make the world a better place.
The most important thing I've learned in Mr. Cope's class, it would be teamwork. It's helped me so much with my daily life, the way I am now. Without Mr. Cope's, I wouldn't be here today.
The most important thing I learned while taking Mr. Cope's classes was that you are responsible for what you do. Taking responsibility for your actions and a sense of work ethic.
The most important thing that I learned with Mr. Cope's class was probably that it doesn't matter who you are, what issues you have, what problems you have. You can still accomplish things. Maybe in a different manner and maybe of a different type than other people. But you're not just useless sitting on the sidelines doing nothing. I had my skill sets and my uses. And while I often didn't see it myself, the others on my team saw it. And that kind of made me feel useful and needed.
The most important thing I learned from Brian Cope's class was actually learning from my mistakes. Because I think the biggest mistake is not learning from your mistakes. Every single thing that you go through in life, like you have simple ideas. There are several simple ideas, but there's the simplest idea. And the simplest idea is that you need to learn from every single experience that you go through.
In the past couple of years I've been with Mr. Copes, the most important thing I've probably learned is to be responsible and respectful. Like, he told us that those were two big things and that we should always do what we're supposed to do even when no one's watching.
In my past years, learning and being a student of Brian Cope's, the most important thing he has taught me was working with team members or claiming mistakes. There's been times out in the shop where nobody would claim it, and you just have to claim the mistake as yours and go and fix it and get the job done.
Brian Copes is my dad, so he's taught me a lot of things. He's taught me how to have patience, to work under pressure, to be a leader. This trip is just applying all those skills.
Few high school students have any idea what they will do as adults. These students went from being high school kids in Calera, Alabama, to a giant leap into adulthood after a short time in Honduras, inspired by their teacher, Brian Copes.
Now that I'm out of high school and I have this huge journey ahead of me, I really want to get this PhD in biomedical engineering, because to me, the more knowledge you gain, the more lives you can change.
After high school, I'm not quite sure. I haven't really decided between being a deep sea welder and doing something technical with my hands, or going into computer forensics, where I can work with computers, which is something I like to do. I'm trying to keep myself open so I'm not locking myself into something that when I get later on in life, I realize that I trapped myself into doing something that I liked in my teens but hate in my adult life.
I want to go into engineering of some sort. Now, I extremely enjoy drafting. Things like designing parts and making that design come to life from just a computer screen. Probably major in some sort of engineering, and if I can, minor in drafting, solely because engineering has had a major impact on my life. I was just like school. What's there to do that's interesting? Nothing. And then I wandered into Mr. Cope's shop one day my 8th grade year. Unfortunately, he had no more room in his classes, I guess because it was so popular that I couldn't take it that year, so I just kind of came in before school, and sometimes when I had free time to just see what they did, and it sparked an interest. So my freshman year of high school, I took his beginning class. I continued with the class and took the advanced class last year, my sophomore year of high school. I enjoyed it. I did more than I ever thought I'd do by going on this trip to Honduras. And now I've certainly decided that I want to do engineering in the future. And trying to make an impact such as what we made down in Honduras in some way, shape, form, or fashion.
After high school, I want to go to Cornell, and I want to be a major in physics. I want to be able to teach people the amazement of engineering and physics, and how physics on its own is the basic idea of what everything is. But it's not the simplest. Math is the simplest. You can't even count your footsteps without math.
After high school, I would like to either A, go to college, or B, going into the military, depending on if I get scholarships or not. I would also like to become a pilot in the near future, get my piloting license, and become a pilot later on.
After high school, I plan on being a combat engineer in the Army, or welding. Just something hands-on so I can help other people.
I'm not sure what I want to do yet, but I know that I don't want to stay in one spot. I just really want to go travel and help people in need. I want to go just make a difference.
Alabama Power donated solar panels to the project. The plan was to attach the solar panels to the hydroelectric power plant. However, after arriving in Honduras and surveying the needs of the local villagers, it was decided that the panels would be better utilized, serving as a backup electric service to a local school. Tim Foster, an electrical engineer with Alabama Municipal Electric Authority, instructed the students on the refitting of the solar panels on the roof of Cephalou Manuel School. Brian visited this school on a previous trip and saw the need to help expand the school's capability. Brian received funding through the Challenge Foundation Academy Charter Schools. Team CFA donated $4,000, which enabled Cephalou Manuel School to add 2 badly needed rooms. This enabled them to expand their course offering from a 1 through 6 to 1 through 12th grades. There are now 105 middle school and high school students attending this school. Brian is now working with Alabaster Alabama City Schools and schools in Jutiapa, Honduras, through the formation of a sister-school relationship. This relationship will link the children from these 2 countries, allowing them to communicate and learn from each other. And though their worlds are far apart, their lives are closer together.
One of the moments that I will never forget was the last day at the clinic, the second trip. That was a hard moment for me because one of the people I'm really connected with, I'm really close to in Honduras with is Orlean. I worked with him 2 years ago. I taught him how to build a prosthetic leg and everything, and he was working with me. And I remember the last day I was with him, the first trip, I gave him my watch as a sign of just, I'm gonna miss you, and you know, I really care for you. And me and him, all throughout those weeks when we worked together, we created this bond. So the second time I came back, I was enjoyed to see him again, see that he was doing good, he was doing fine, and he's helped us so much. And so it was just great just to talk to him, and whenever he needed me, he's like, Christian. I'm like, all right. And it was great just to have this friendship. When we left, we were on the bus leaving, I was crying because I was missing Orlean. I was like, man, I don't want to leave Orlean. This guy's my best worker here. I love working with him. So I remember giving the hug. It was hard. It was hard for me to let go. But man, it felt so different just to be in the United States just a couple days after. And I was like, man, I want to go back.
My personal feelings about the trip to Honduras was I felt a little bit of pride going down and helping people and being able to change their lives. I was nervous at first about being in a developing country, and not being able to speak their language fluently. But all in general, I was happy with the chance to get to change people's lives.
I really want to see Alabama's education skyrocket in the sense of application, more of just knowing how to do it, but seeing the why. Why is it important?
I would like to say thank you to Mr. Copes, and thank you for all of you guys and all my friends for supporting me along the way. And I'd like to thank my parents and all that for helping me so much.
Well, I just think that it doesn't matter how young you are, who you are, or what gender you are. It doesn't matter what odds are against you. You can do anything as long as you put your mind to it and you fight for it and you work so hard for it. You can change the world.